Good evening, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Lewis, and this is Evolution of Pro Wrestling. As you notice, my co-host unfortunately is unable to make it today, but he'll definitely be back on our show next week. Today's topic, fans, greatest managers of all time. And today we're going to have a special guest on the phone. He is the manager of the unique and deadly faction, the Deadly Saiyan Squad, Mark Schwann. He's going to tune in to us via phone, and we're just waiting for that phone call. Mr. Schwann. Okay, that call is coming up shortly. Good evening, Mr. Schwann. Welcome to the show, sir. Hello. Hello. Ooh, had a bit of a disconnect. He'll be calling back. Oh, there he is again. Good evening, Mr. Schwann.
How's it going?
All right, welcome to the show, sir. It's a pleasure to have you, especially with this topic, greatest managers of all time, which we know you're an excellent manager when it comes to the Deadly Saiyan Squad.
Well, yeah, I have to be number one on that list then.
Of course, absolutely. We could put you in there as one of the tops,
One of. I always share that spot with myself on that.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. And you have all right. When we talk about managers, managers are the talent, and many people think the managers make the talent, make them what they are to the stardom that goes on. What inspired you to get into wrestling as a manager?
Oh, what inspired me? Oh, man. I mean, I've been watching wrestling since I was a little kid. I remember my first match I ever saw was Bret Hart versus British Bulldog, SummerSlam in 1992. I've always had a passion for it. As I grew older, I went into the entertainment business as an actor, but I still had the desire to be in the wrestling industry. And I've been inspired by people like Paul Heyman, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and I thought this is the best way for me to go, utilize my true talents as a guy who can talk, and the guy because a lot of people hate me.
Well, that's normally what happens to managers. They are hated by many fans, but they fail to understand that that's what brings the manager out of you, to get that hatred from the fans. Who was your favorite wrestlers growing up?
Shawn Michaels, for
Okay.
sure. I mean, without a shadow of doubt. All hands, but Ric Flair, it's neck and neck with them.
Oh man, those are excellent. Those are excellent wrestlers. What type of wrestlers do you prefer for your talent to challenge or face in the ring?
We take on any and all comers, man. There's no preference because at the end of the day, the Deadly Saiyan Squad, we've proven time and time again we come out on top. So you can bring your biggest, you bring your baddest. Oh, I prefer it because there's no excuse then.
Oh, okay. No, that's a decent answer. What would you prefer? Do you prefer being a heel or a face?
I feel like that question. I mean, that's so old school. I feel like now wrestling has changed, and I feel like there's really no bad guy. There's no good guy. At the end of the day, you're gonna cheer for who you want to cheer. You're gonna boo who you want to boo. For us, we are ourselves. There's no like bad guy, good guy with us. I mean, yeah, we go out there, we seek to win, we seek to go out and destroy our competition, no matter who we face. So you talk about bad guy, good guy. I mean, that may rub people the wrong way, and they may hate us more. But there are a lot of people that want to get on our side. They want to be a Saiyan. You know what? In that sense, I guess we're the good guy. So it depends who you ask.
Oh, that's actually an honest answer that a lot of fans wanted to hear, because it's true what you say. There are many fans that prefer the heel, over the face. That they like that type of attention. They like that badness in wrestling. But it sounds like you were not afraid of any challenge whatsoever in the wrestling industry.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to be ourselves. You guys are going to like that or you're going to hate it. But at the end of the day, we're just going to be us.
No, that's awesome. Did you ever want to become a wrestler yourself?
Of course. Of course. As a kid, of course I want to hop in there. But, my agent advises me not to get into that ring, which is why I'm very, very annoyed at Frankie Flo for what he did to me this past weekend. I'm sure you saw the video of him punching me in the face with BCW this past weekend.
Wow. That I did catch a glimpse on it. It looked like, you guys got that rivalry going. Would you want to elaborate further on that rivalry? Because I know you guys had a tables, ladders, and chairs match.
You know what? That was supposed to be it. That was supposed to be the end-all, be-all. We came out on top. We came out and we won the whole damn thing, just like we said we would. Just like, again, we've done time and time again. And then Frankie, he was a challenge to Eric Jaden to try and get back his LAW championship at the next show, at the next LAW show on April 27th. All right, fine. Okay, you want to keep this going? All right, fine, so be it. But to put your hand on the Queen, Nia Kennedy, on a woman, to me, that just rubbed me the wrong way. So, of course, I had to get involved. Of course, I had to put my face in there. And guess what? My face suffered circumstance because of it.
No.
But needless to say, we will be there April 27th. We will answer that challenge. We will come out still having the LAW championship around our waist. Eric Jaden will still be the champion. We'll take on any other champions that they have and take their belts too. And I will go out there with the mark on my face of pride because I'm going to have a smile ear to ear, baby.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Frankie Flo is probably watching this broadcast and heard those words as well as the rest of the talent.
I hope he is. He better be listening.
I'm sure he is. If you can change anything about the indie wrestling or how people perceive pro wrestling, what would you change and why?
People view professional wrestling, back in the day, professional wrestling used to get this stink, right? Like, oh, you're involved in professional wrestling, oh, you might as well be in porn. But it's not that way anymore. There's a lot of respect in professional wrestling, the respect that we deserve. Because, these guys, they go in there day in and day out, they put their bodies in the line for the team of the fans. And honestly, it's come a long way. To see more of that, to see more of the respect that they deserve. You look at any other sport, they have seasons, right?
Yes, sir.
Professional wrestling, there are no seasons. 24/7, they go. There's no rest. So they are the best athletes in the world.
Well, that's a very interesting way to put that, sir, and I'm glad you answered that question. What word would your wrestlers or rivals use to describe you? Tough, devious, manipulative, and why?
I would say, do I have to choose from that list? Because I would say Randy Savage, Sam Cockett. But rightfully so. Rightfully so. Look at all I've accomplished in such a short time. I'm an actor, I'm a producer, I'm in the entertainment world, and I came to professional wrestling because I do love it. I do genuinely love it, and I want to bring the forefront. I want to use any fame that I have, put the spotlight on my guys, and I've earned the right to be cocky. Because yes, I've come in there, and I've done great things right away. I am the manager of the Deadly Saint Squad, one of the hottest groups in New York, in the tri-state area, soon to be the nation. I have the LAW World Champion. I have the BWF Tag Team Champions. I have Rick Recon, who's going to dominate any competition that comes his way. He's a future champion, I guarantee you that. I've done color commentary. I'm on posters, and I've only been doing this since August. Yeah, I have a right to
It sounds like you've taken him a long way, each superstar you've been with.
Absolutely. My resume speaks for itself.
Absolutely, I'm sure.
And not to say these guys on their own, they are the real deal. But together, all of us together, there's no stopping us. I dare anyone to try, because they will fail. They will all fall down to the Deadly Sand Squad.
What advice would you give others just starting in the business, wrestlers or managers?
Advice I would give is just listen. Listen, be professional, and be humble. See, me, I don't have to be humble. I'm just me.
With your guidance, seems to me like you're undefeated.
We're always undefeated, man. Undefeated is the mindset. You know, we're undefeated no matter what. You can try to take away, a victory that can come our way. You may try to come in and try and stop our momentum. Undefeated is our mindset. You ain't going to stop us. With our minds created. All we do is win. You may win a battle or two here and there, but we will win the war.
Well, that sounds definitely like a direct threat to the talent out there. I have one more question for you, sir. And what is the best advice that anyone has ever given you when you started?
Shut your mouth.
Okay, that's pretty simple. That's pretty direct. Okay.
Well, yeah, you know what? Educated. I mean, he's for quite a bit. I've learned a lot from him. I mean, entertainment is entertainment. You know, and I'm no stranger to that. But, because as far as going to the ins and outs of wrestling business, yeah, I learned from him.
Okay. Well, that is pretty direct, and I appreciate the honesty, and I appreciate you being on the show, sir. And we look forward to seeing you more, seeing the Deadly Sand Squad in action. You know, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the ruthless factions in New York City. And again, we will continue to view the Deadly Sand Squad as well as your talent out there. We appreciate you being on the show, sir. It's been an honor.
Thank you for having me, man. And keep an eye on the Deadly Sand Squad, because we have some major changes.
Oh, absolutely. And remember, my fans are also waiting for you guys to come down south. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, you'll be seeing us. You'll be seeing us. Different look, different attitude. You guys will be blown away.
Absolutely, sir. Again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, fans, as you saw, Mark Schwann, the manager of the Deadly Sand Squad in New York City, one of the ruthless factions in the industry in New York. Now, as we talk about fans, we talk about the greatest managers of all time. That was one of them. He also works with Nia Kennedy, who is also a manager of the Deadly Sand Squad. That goes along with Eric Jaden, as you heard, the LAW heavyweight champion. When it comes to managers, they pretty much sometimes create the talent to where they are today. For an example, Paul Heyman, he mentioned. Paul Heyman is one of the greatest managers of all time. He managed Brock Lesnar for many, many years. Right now, Brock Lesnar is currently the Universal Champion, defending it against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. But this goes far beyond when Brock Lesnar first started in the WWE. Paul Heyman has managed wrestlers such as the Deadly Alliance, people in ECW as Sabu, Taz. This man can take that talent out of you and bring it out of you to make you this phenomenal superstar. Also, you have greats as Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan with the Heenan family. The man had the late King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant, Big John Studd, the Brain Busters, which was Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. Both of them great talent. He had superstars such as Hercules, Ravishing Rick Rude. The list goes on and on. He was called the Brain for a reason. Bobby the Brain Heenan. because he knew how to get that heel out of his talent and how to win a match and how to win championships. And that's pretty much what a manager does. And you also got managers such as Mr. Fuji, who managed Yokozuna, the late Yokozuna, to win his first heavyweight championship. He also managed the Powers of Pain, Demolition, Don Morocco, Hall of Famer, that he was a former Intercontinental Champion, that Mr. Fuji was called the devious Mr. Fuji, that many people knew that he was one that you had to always watch out for when he was at ringside. And when you see that type of a person standing there, you don't know what to expect. But when you talk about great managers, there's one in particular that stands out to me, Miss Elizabeth. The late Miss Elizabeth was the first lady of wrestling. She managed the Macho Man Randy Savage for many years and brought that attitude out of the Macho Man, took him to stardom, to becoming the Intercontinental Champion, from the Intercontinental Champion to being the World Heavyweight Champion in the WWE. Also in WCW, she managed him there as well. She wanted to roll with him every time, but she was an excellent manager that kept him in line to reach to that stardom. Now, we can go on about past, present managers, but what about Paul Ellering? Excuse me. He managed the Legion of Doom. Excellent tag team, which to me is by far still the greatest tag team of all time. He transcended into this excellent manager that the Legion of Doom were heel, then face, then back to heel, and they took all over NWA, WCW, WWE, Japan, and the list went on and on. Then you got managers such as J.J. Dillon, who managed the Four Horsemen. To me, by far, one of the greatest factions of all time in WCW. He brought that out of them. Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Ole Anderson, Barry Windham, the list goes on. Many Four Horsemen went under his wing, and they all made a great career out of their stardom, that's what you say. Then you have Diamond Dallas Page, who managed the Fabulous Freebirds. With that being said, Diamond Dallas Page went from being a manager to a wrestler. So that pretty much worked out for him. Then you got Paul Bearer, the late Paul Bearer, who managed The Undertaker, which The Undertaker transcended his career with The Undertaker, with Paul Bearer, that The Undertaker went 21-0 at WrestleMania. And Paul Bearer by his side made him even more phenomenal of a wrestler and talent in this wrestling industry. Then you got Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart managed the Hart Foundation, which we would like to congratulate on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He also managed wrestlers such as Dino Bravo, The Giant, Earthquake, and many other superstars. This man has done it all in the wrestling industry. But when you talk about old school, you got Captain Lou Albano, the Grand Wizard. Like, these are managers that not people to this day don't know about. Why? Because this was in the 80s and 70s, but they were still excellent managers. Especially Captain Lou Albano, who managed George the Animal Steele at the time. That Captain Lou was an excellent heel manager that many people hated. But you also got Vicky Guerrero, who managed Edge, Dolph Ziggler, which a lot of people were annoyed with her. Excuse me, but she brought that out of people to hate her, you know, and they pretty much couldn't stand her loud mouth, but that's what brought the manager out of her to have everybody hate me. I'm like, oh, I don't care. I'm a manager, but I'm still bringing the gold to my talent, and that's what needs to be done. But fans, we're going to wrap this up today. Next week is going to be a show you're not going to want to miss. WrestleMania special we're going to have the greatest moments of all time at WrestleMania. We're going to have a special guest, which he was on the show before when we talked about the greatest wrestlers of all time, my friend Brian. Also, please tune in on Smart Mark Radio with Moses Marquez. He's our new partner. We're going to be posting up a link of a SoundCloud so you can view the show. If you don't see it on Facebook, you can see it on SoundCloud. Any questions, concerns, topics, feel free to email us, evolutionofprowrestling@gmail.com. Tune in next Friday. You are not going to want to miss it. Take care, fans.